Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is my eyeshadow palette review for June. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video is going to be an eyeshadow palette review of the new to me eyeshadow palettes that I tried for the first time in June. There were 6 palettes here. A lot of them were quite small-ish, so I couldn't do too many looks with them, but I felt it was the right balance for me to have something new in the month, but also room to go back to old favorites, because that's something I always like to do. And that video with my old favorites is still coming up later this month. Before we get into the video, it would be good to know what I like doing on this channel. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about makeup. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love trying out eyeshadow palettes, essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, then I do hope you'd like to consider subscribing. As I mentioned in the intro, I had 6 palettes in the selection for this month. Some of these things I bought quite recently. I feel I'm pretty much like up to speed with what I have been buying lately. And some of the things I'm showing you today already in a review were things I bought in like late April, early May. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good there. So what is in the video today? We have 2 of the MUA 5 pans that I picked up in London. 2 like stray things from a K-beauty order that I did in the springtime. The Hip Gray from Peripera. The Romand Better Than Cheeky Garden palette. And the MUA Illusionist palette. And finally, the palette that is on my face today, which is the Unearthly The Dreamer palette. So these are the palettes I selected for this month. Next month I will have a new selection. I always share in my Shop My Stash videos what palettes I will be selecting every month. So if you want to know what I will be selecting for July, definitely have a look out for that video, which should be up at like sometime early July. That should be up. Let's kick things off with, I also think these were the first 2 palettes that I actually tried, which are the new to me MUA 5 pans. So the story with me and these MUA palettes is that I actually found these in the UK drugstore last year, picked up 2 of them, loved them to pieces. So when I saw they were doing more color stories that appealed to me, I figured I could pick up 2 more. So the one I used is Neutral Wanderlust. Let's discuss this one first. And Neutral Wanderlust is exactly what it says on the tin, a neutral palette. This is very smack on in the middle neutral. It's not too warm toned, it's not too cool toned. It's really that neutral palette that keeps the middle ground between warm and cool, I feel. For instance, these 2 feel a little bit more cool toned to me, whereas these 3 shades have a bit of a warmer undertone, but all combined it creates a fairly neutral look. 3 mattes, 2 shimmers, and I feel that the shimmer quality in this is different from the ones I tried last year. At the time I tried the Enchantment and Andromeda Skies, and those shimmers were so rich and creamy that I needed a glitter glue to stick them down to have them not crease after like an hour of wear. This is a lot better in terms of it wearing on my skin. So I definitely feel that these shimmers aren't the same, or at least not 100% the same. They are still a little bit prone to creasing, but not as badly as the ones that I tried last year. This was really pretty. I love that you can just get a very easy look out of this. Crease, lid, inner corner, lower lash line, and you're good to go. Maybe you can use a dark brown as liner. Like there is it's not super exciting what you can do with this, but on the go and for every day, I think this is really pretty. How much product do you get in these? It is only 3.8 grams of product, so it looks like you're going to get like a gram per pan, but I think the pans in here are very shallow, so you do get less than a gram in this entire thing. In fact, it's like 0.7-ish, a little bit more, like 0.75, so less than a standard eyeshadow size for sure. But for how cheap these are, I don't mind it. These retail for $2.99 or $3.99 at the UK drugstore. I can find them online through Notino, so that's where I will be linking you to in the description box down below if you wanted to pick these up, because they are still available, and in Europe, that's where you can find it. I don't really know where else you can find MUA. They have an official website, but that doesn't give me an affiliate sort of commission. If you do choose to shop through that link that I'm going to be dropping in the description box down below, and you choose to shop from it, I could make a bit of money from your order. So yeah, that's why I sometimes choose certain links from certain websites, because some of them aren't affiliated and others are. Sometimes I have no other option and I would still have a link there because the clicks also count, but not all websites have that affiliation sort of thing going on. The other one I have here is Desert Bloom. And this is really pretty as well. It's not as pink as I'd like it to. It's okay, it's a bit more pinky peach. And then of course we get these like rosy tones here. This is a little bit more peachy. So again, something cool toned, something warmer-ish. I do feel that this is quite a soft pink. So I think this can be really pretty if you do enjoy cooler tones, but you want to try warmer tones. Then I think this can be a nice one for you. It's a very soft, rosy look. Formula-wise, I feel it's very similar to the Neutral Wonderlust, where the shimmers do have a bit of creasing, but not too much. It's not like last year. The mattes blend really seamlessly in here, and you can see it has the same setup, right? You get 3 mattes, 2 shimmers. I feel this is a little bit more satin, whereas in the ones I tried last year, it was definitely a little bit more flaky. And this is definitely more like a standard, like satin to metallic shimmer, you could say. This has a little bit more impact, the one at the end. But yeah, this came together really well for me as well. I super duper enjoy these. I'm glad I have now 2 of these. Maybe I'll go back next year and grab the other 2 or 3 that they have. I don't know, but these 5 pans from MUA are really good quality for the price point. I really enjoy them. And if you look at how slim these are, they are also super easy to carry around. I don't love how cheap the packaging feels. Like, I think that if you were to throw this into a makeup bag, it would break really easily. And I would like the plastic to just feel a little sturdier. But I think that that's definitely why these are so affordable, yet still really good quality. I definitely think that that's going on here. They've skimped on the packaging for sure to make sure you get a really good product. So of course, if you do really enjoy your packaging and wanting things to look really nice on your vanity, this is not the one. But if you're here for a good performing product that just gets the job done, then these little MUA quads, or quintets, I should say, are really nice indeed. Let's keep the MUA train rolling, because now that I've tried these 5 pans, I was really curious after their 15 pans. Now this is not the first 15 pan from MUA I have ever tried. I think I've tried 2 or 3 other ones by them back when this brand was still available here in Europe a little bit more easily. I remember MUA being stocked at my local drugstore. Don't know why that isn't happening anymore. And I remember I had one called the Fire Vixen, which I think they still do, which is very orange heavy and super warm toned. And I had one, oh, what was it called? Ellis or Elysium, something like that. And it was a dupe for the Naked 3 by Urban Decay. And I loved my Naked 3 at the time. So what I would do is, because I didn't want to travel with my bulky Urban Decay Naked 3, and this being super slim and easy to travel with, I would travel with my MUA one rather than the Urban Decay one, and not have the risk of it breaking while I was traveling. So that's what I actually did for years. Like the Elysium, I think that's what it was called. That Naked 3 dupe from MUA used to be my go-to travel palette for like 3 years or something like that. I use it quite a bit, and it had really decent quality. And I feel the same about the new one that I tried this month. This is the Illusionist palette. And I think if you look at this color story, you understand why this gal right here wanted to give this a whirl. Save for the shade in the middle, everything is cool toned. And it's at the drugstore. Now these are a little bit more expensive than the 5 pans though. I think this is like $4.99 or $5.99. They're like double the price, but still super affordable for drugstore. And this works. It works really well. The only thing I'm missing is a shade that is light enough for me to use as a highlighter. There isn't really a good highlighting shade in terms of like the shimmers. The shimmers in here all have different textures. I think you can see from the ones that I've used every single shade in the palette, but these have that slightly flakier sort of texture to them, which I thought was really pretty. I like these a lot. But some of them, like this one at the bottom here, have a bit more of a satin vibe to them. And the satins, I didn't love. The mattes are really stunning, but like the more flaky things in terms of the shimmers, I liked a lot better than like these two shimmers in the middle. So you do get a little bit more texture than you get in the 5 pans, but that didn't necessarily add anything for me. Was I able to make them work? I was able to make it work just fine. I think I also get enough crease shades in here. This is a crease shade for me. This is a crease shade for me. This could be a crease shade for me. This could be a crease shade for me. And this could be a crease shade for me. And then I still have 2 deeper shades for deepening things up to use as liner, to do all of that. I loved this on the lower lash line. It was really pretty. This I had a hard time picking up, which I didn't love. And I thought that the grays in here were actually really nice, a little bit more taupe leaning. This was really nice to blend. I did 3 looks with this, one centered around each of the different crease shades that I showed you. So I did a look starting things off with this like pinky, mauvey, purpley kind of thing, and I pulled in all of the purples with that. I know I did one with this like darker brown and sort of used some more of the like the taupey brown shades in there. And then I did a full-on gray look with this one here. And what I was like, when I was using this, the thing that I realized is that as basic as this looks in the pan, I felt that definitely some of the shimmers really gave me a much better effect than I had expected, especially for how affordable this is. For instance, of course I closed it again. This shade right here has a bit of a plum to it when you apply it. And I was like, I had not expected it, because in the pan, it just looks like a boring taupey silvery gray. But then on the eyes, I feel there was something that was a little bit more special about it. The same thing about this taupey shade in the top corner here. It has a little bit more gold to it once it goes onto the eyes. So overall, I thought this was a really nicely done palette. As I mentioned, this is cheap as chips, and if you're looking for good affordable makeup in terms of like eyeshadow palettes, I think MUA, it's where it's at the minute. And then of course I tried some K-beauty things. First I tried this. This is the Hip Gray palette, and this is by Peripera. If you saw my K-beauty eyeshadow palette trial last year, I actually tried another one of these like longer style, like it looks really long and it's a little bit chunky. One of those palettes in the Fall and Acorn shade, and I really enjoyed the quality. I just thought the packaging is a weird shape. I don't have anything shaped like this in my makeup collection. And it had one faux pas that I really don't like in my palettes, and that is that it had a cream, like almost like a putty shade combined with all of the powders, and I just didn't love that. And I'm very happy to report to you that this doesn't have any weird putty shades that mess up all the powders in the palette. What it doesn't have though is a lot of shimmer. There is essentially only one true shimmer in here, which is this on this side. And then this looks like it's going to be a shimmer, but it's more like a satin. So it's not super impactful. And this shade here seems to be a matte with shimmer, but again, the shimmer didn't really show up. Overall, this palette is of course called Hip Gray, but this is a taupe palette. It's a taupe palette if I've ever seen a taupe palette. That's what attracted me to it. It does go pretty light, but it doesn't have enough depth that you can set up a look. I mean, crease shades are here. We have some things to put all over the lid. We've got some blending shades. The only shade I thought wasn't really for me is this shade right here. This like with the star print in there. I didn't like that gray tone. It again has a little bit of micro glitter to it, which is usually a reason, like a way to help them blend more so than anything else. But yeah, overall, I do think that I like this one better than I did the Fall and Acorn. I definitely like the look I created with this. Is it anything special in my collection? not at all, but I was excited to see K-beauty brands doing more cool tones, and I definitely have a bit of a wish list that I hope to be able to buy in the next couple of months so I can do more reviews with K-beauty brands, because they're currently doing some really nice cooler tone things. The other K-beauty palette in this review is by Romand, and we all know that these little better than palettes from Romand are some of my favorite K-beauty eyeshadow palettes. I love how they have the gradient from light to dark, and this one is their like pinky mauve tone one. It's in the shade Cheeky Cheeky Garden, and here's what it looks like. I think this is such an excellent shade range, and I like this a lot more, let me tell you, than I had expected. Because I don't know why, maybe it's because of the sort of like darker plastic that this comes in, but I was a little bit thrown off and concerned with how cool toned this would be. Because especially that bottom row in the pan, to me, looked like it could be warm toned. But I was so happy when I put it on and I was like, oh, no, they are actually cool tone browns. And then this, like these brighter pinks are really pretty. And these like plummy things as well. Like everything in this palette is cool toned. Again, not too many shimmers. These are the only 2 shimmers we get. But overall, I really liked how this came together. I don't usually love doing a matte eyeshadow look. And I did one look with just the top row and one look with just the bottom row. And I like both of the looks I did. I think it's that pop of pink that makes it have enough interest for me that I don't feel I need the shimmer per se. This is the Romand formula that I know I love, and I think this color story is one of the best ones they've done. It's not my favorite though. I still think the Dreamy Lilac Garden is my favorite. Because it has slightly more shimmers, which I still prefer a little bit. But if you've never tried Romand and you do enjoy cool tones, then maybe try this one. Because I think the Cheeky Cheeky Garden is a really good palette indeed, especially for people who like cool tones. And I think cool tones are sort of the theme of this video, because the final palette I tried is the Unearthly Dreamer palette. As I mentioned, one of the looks I did with this is on my eyes today. This has been on all day. I did my makeup in the morning and I'm filming this video after I came back from work. So this has been on for like a good 9 hours or something like that. But yeah, I think I did my makeup around 8 and it's like 5 o'clock right now. So it's been on for quite some time. So I feel that we're doing pretty okay here. And with this palette, I ended up doing 2 looks. Because for me, this really splits into like the pink tones and the grays. That's sort of how it works in my brain. I do think there are different configurations that you could use it as, because I think as quads, it can work as well. And I definitely thought that this side was going to be more warm tone on me and that this was the cooler tone side. But as I was using this side of the palette, it pulled cool tone on me. This rose in the middle especially, I feel it looks like it's got a very peach heavy undertone in the pan, but when I used it, it really had this really pretty pinky rose undertone and it looked really stunning. This shade, you might think that's a little bit warm toned, but I really didn't mind it. It was really nice to have it in the mix of shades here. The only shade on this side of the palette that I didn't love was the bright pink shimmer. Because the bright pink shimmer, I thought wasn't that easy to apply. That was the only gripe I had. It didn't really pick up with a brush very well. I could tap it on with fingers and that definitely intensified it. And I liked the look I did with this, but I also thought that I wanted a little bit more for shimmers, especially because this is the more expensive formula that Unearthly now does, and I have plenty of their older palettes. And in terms of shimmers, I feel they've downgraded, especially based on that one shimmer here. I like the other shimmers in this palette just fine. But yeah, this was, it's not that it's not good. I think the blendability of especially the mattes is improved. In the older palettes, I felt it was the classic indie boom kapow in your face pigment and you needed to blend for days, which I always feel is a little bit more difficult to work with. But the mattes in this palette are definitely an improvement. It was easy to build up. It was super blendable, easy to use. I get enough crease shades in here. It worked really nicely for that. The shimmers though, as I mentioned, this pink I wasn't a big fan of, and also the lighter purple, you really need your fingers to make it work. Was I able to make it work? Yes, absolutely fine. Is this a great cooler toned color story from an indie brand? Yes, also most definitely. And the other side of the palette that I haven't chatted about yet is what's on my eyes today. I used the gray in the crease, then I put the like the lavender sort of all over the lid. I used the deeper purple as liner. This is in the inner corner, and I put the navy and this gray shimmer on the lower lash line. And I thought it was really pretty. I feel that this has so much potential because it has enough dark shades that you can instantly do a smoky eye with this. Or like I'm wearing today, you can keep it quite neutral, but it still has a pop of interest because those lighter shimmers are definitely a little bit different from what I would normally go for. It's sort of like a cool tone neutral palette with a colorful aspect to it. So it's a colorful cool tone palette without it going like into the rainbow realm, and it still has that grungy vibe that I know I adore about Unearthly cosmetics. But now that I've tried this new formula, I do think that, yeah, this may be it for me in terms of Unearthly, unless people start saying they've changed their formula again. I thought that if I was gonna be blown away by this, that I could still get my hands on the Sorcerer Smoke. But now that I've tried this, I'm like, I have the original Fall Magic by the brand, which has a bit of overlap with the Sorcerer Smoke, so I think I'm gonna stick to just having that, and I don't need all the new palettes. But yeah, I'm appreciating that I could actually try this newer formula from the brand. I still think it's a good formula. I definitely think it's easier to work with for the mattes, but the shimmers I feel need a little bit more work. And if that's something you're not willing to do and you only want to apply your shades with brushes, I don't think you're gonna love this as much. One thing I was thinking of when I was doing my makeup this morning is something that I would still like to do with that brighter pink that's in here, is to see how it responds if I were to wet it. So if I wet my brush and then pick up the shade, it may actually be a lot more impactful. It usually has. Like, that's usually my experience with these weaker shimmers, you could say. But I want my shimmers to just go on nicely and just have it done very well. So I don't think this is necessarily going to be like a must-have in everyone's collection. I appreciate I got to try it. I like the formula well enough. I like the color story even more. So do I feel you need to run out and get this if you were thinking of buying this palette? I don't think so. I like the formula well enough. I like the color story even better, but I don't think it's that unique that I feel it's definitely worth the money. Especially for me, Unearthly can be quite expensive to get as well. I got this off of Monolith, which makes it a little easier on the monthly makeup budget, you could say, but it's still an expensive palette nevertheless. And like I mentioned just now, I think the old formula I have is one I still really enjoy, and I also want to play with those palettes again. So I got to try the new Unearthly formula, and the conclusion is it's okay, but it's not as special as everyone makes it out to be. So there you have it. Those were all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in June. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I will be back with this video in July. You are still going to get a video where I will be going back to some older palettes as well. So stay tuned if that's something that you're interested in. And I will, of course, have regular eyeshadow palette related content because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So I can't stop chatting about eyeshadow palettes, so definitely check back for more. And then I hope to see you in my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.